If you're a filmmaker, videographer, content creator, whatever you want to call yourself, you probably want to grow your video business. But the question always is how? How can I make some bread? Well, sit tight and let me tell you a little story, and it might help shed some light on how you can do just that. In 1923, on an autumnal evening, was born Vilfredo Frederico de Meos Pareto. Now, why do I mention this guy? Now, after being born in Switzerland and growing up to have a nice old life, Pareto was an engineer, but also did a lot of work pioneering theories in the world of economics. Now, what does Pareto have to do with building revenue for your business? Well, Pareto is most famous for his single principle which was created, which resides around the 80-20 rule. Now, what is it? In simple terms, it was built on his observations that 80% of the wealth in Italy belong to about 20% of the population. But as he expanded his study and this law was taken more broadly, it was understood that this 80-20 rule applies for most things. Be it wealth distribution in a country, 20% of the richest people in the country have 80% of the wealth. Similarly, it also seems to be synonymous with business and business activity. So how does that apply? In essence, 20% of your business effort is probably the thing that's correlating to 80% of the revenue. And what is most common that you'll find happens in businesses is 80% of the revenue is driven by only a small percentage of the clients, like 20%. So when looking at your own video business, ask yourself, do I have those 20% clients? Because finding and growing those clients is essential for making your video production business make more money. Quick one. So for those of you that are new here, my name's Joe Housley, and on this channel we talk about getting cash whilst getting creative. I'm sharing the knowledge that I've learned over the last 5 years of growing a video production business and creating film content for major brands. So if that does sound interesting or helpful to you, please do consider subscribing. If you do, I'll be eternally grateful. So Pareto's magic 80% clients that are going to deliver all that juicy revenue for you. Who are they? How do you find them? First of all, we have to ask ourselves, what does that client look like? They're going to need to have a certain size so they can give you regular revenue. They're going to need to have large budgets. They're going to need content regularly and consistently. And ideally, they're going to have multiple divisions that you can expand into. So first of all, do you have that client? If so, you can skip this next minute because I'm going to talk about how to find those clients. But if you're interested in how to find those clients, stick around. But if you don't have a client like that, then you're going to ask, how do I win that client? I'd be lying if I said it was easy, but if you follow these steps, it should give you a good framework and strategy of how to get those clients. But don't expect it to happen overnight. Big clients that you can build into big revenue earners take a bit of time. But if you're willing to put in the time, they can massively be rewarding for your business. So the first thing you're going to want to think about is the perception of your brand. Is your video production business presenting itself as an organization that could fulfill work for a client that is going to give you those big budgets, that regular content, and so on and so forth? If you've got a poor portfolio, you've got a Gmail account on your website, your video production business looks small, then all of those things are going to compound to give the perception that your brand can't handle working with a large business. So first of all, think about how you can sharpen up all of those things in your fundamentals about your brand and your positioning. Large companies have large teams and hierarchies and people trying to move up that corporate ladder. Those people are going to be very important in the decision making of buying video services. So anything that makes them at risk, which would be using a video production business that doesn't look credible and established, is going to put them off making a decision to use you as their production partner. So you need to iron out your brand and make sure that it looks the business first. For a bit more about that, I'll link a video here. After this video, maybe go put that on the watch list and get some pointers on how you can make yourself look a bit more professional. If you're confident your business looks the business and you can approach a client like that, the next thing you've got to think about is how you're going to get into them. Now, there is nothing more valuable in this instance to get in somewhere than utilizing your network. Very early in starting my video production business, did I hear the phrase, your network is your net worth, and it's completely correct. Ask yourself, do you know somebody in the business that you're trying to get into, or do you know know somebody that knows somebody that's in the business that you're trying to get into. Getting introduced and referred into a business, even better at a higher level within the hierarchy of that business, is gonna, without any doubt, be one of the most effective, quickest ways to get into that organization. So first of all, use your network. Is your network there and available to open that door for you? If not, that's also fine. The next step is you need to make that network. There's an approach in marketing called ABM, or account-based marketing. In principle, what it essentially says is, instead of putting your message out to loads and loads and loads of people, just kind of carpet bombing the world with your brand message, you take a very focused approach, an account approach to how you market your business and how you try and sell. And this is the kind of approach that you should take when trying to get into these organizations. You should shortlist a select few, do your research, figure out who are the people in that business that you need to be connecting with, connect with them on LinkedIn, good place to go and do business connections, and then make sure that you're commenting on their stuff, posting to your channels as well, so you can get on that person's radar. That gives you an opportunity to open a dialogue with them and it not be completely cold. Another thing you can do is actually figure out what kind of industry networking events that they're going to and go and attend those networking events as well. Try and make a conscious effort to build the network that you need to get you into those companies. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a slow burn, but if you think about the long-term value of that client, it's worth doing. Selling is part of having a business, running a business, and it's not easy to do. You need to be resilient, you need to be tough. When trying to reach out to people, I was told in my early days of starting this business, you could have to reach out to somebody as much as 10 times before getting a response. That persistency and resilience is important. Don't be put off if your first and second attempt doesn't work. Stay consistent, because think about the long-term value of that client. Okay, and then finally, don't forget about tendering. Tendering is a surefire way to get your foot in the door, providing that you do it right. If you don't know what a tender is or tendering is, just to quickly summarize, when a large business has a project, a lot of the time, because they're funded by public money, they need to go to what's known as a tender. And a tender is a public space where they go out to the world, they say, we're X organization, we need these services, people bid for it. Tenders are there to stop nepotism and to give everybody a fair crack at pitching for the same work when that tender goes live. Now, the thing with the tender process is it's much, much more risky and time consuming than something like a sale. A tender process involves filling out lots of documentation and jumping through a lot of hoops and pitching before you've even got a foot at the table to speak to somebody. So you could essentially spend a couple of hours putting in a tender pitch and it could lead nowhere. But if it does come off, it could stand to be one of the largest contracts that you're going to get as a video production business. And a lot of the times, once you're in with an organization that's gone to tender, they will continue to use you going forward, because it's a pain for them to go through the tender process. So once they have their supplier, they go, yeah, we're happy with this supplier, we'll use them again, we've got them through a fair tender. So there's massive long-term value in those relationships, and they're definitely going to have those large budgets because that's why they've gone to tender in the first place. So yes, it might take a little bit of time, it might be a slower burn, but if you go through that tender process, that can be a way to get into those larger organizations and win some of those 20% clients that'll deliver 80% of your revenue. If you've been trying to win a client like this, but it's just not been working, hit me up in the comments below and let me know what your challenges are, and I'll come back to you and see if I can help. Okay, so say that you have this client already and you're trying to grow them. You can use this again for any client, but it's obviously much better if you've got one that is an absolute behemoth that you can grow into. If you've got a SME that has a limited budget for marketing, then they are not going to exceed that budget with you by a lot. If you've got a massive corporate organization with multiple divisions within the business and a massive desire and massive bank balances, then you can easily rapidly expand across that business. So let's talk about, once you're in, how do you grow that client to become one of those beasts? So step one, and this is the most important thing, and it kind of goes without saying, is you have to deliver great work. It has to be your best work, and you have to build really strong foundations. So amongst just that great work, you have to deliver a great customer experience, so amazing communications with the client, always on it, quick responses to them, always dealing with any challenges directly, clearly, and well. And one thing that I cannot stress enough that makes such a difference is under promise, over deliver. Don't set an expectation over here of what you can deliver and then deliver deliver here. Do it the other way around. And that doesn't just apply to the quality of the work. Do that with all of the deadlines as well. Say something's going to take you 3 days to do. Give yourself 2 weeks for it. If you can then, after 3 days, look at it, give yourself a bit of a window for error to give feedback and make that video better, then deliver it at 5 days, then that's a week in advance of what they're expecting. Instead of you saying, yeah, it's going to be with you in 3 days, and then you might need to delay it 1 day for one reason or another, be it feedback or something's not right or you've had a delay, then the client goes, well, I was expecting it Wednesday and now it's Thursday, you're late. Set the expectation that it's going to be a couple of weeks and then deliver it much faster. The client is going to be overjoyed with that. This expectation setting of reducing it slightly and then over delivering for my video production business has been one of the most important things for us to win and keep clients. So once you've won that first client and you've done that first project and everything's gone great, what do you do next? The next step is something that is known as a concept of zipping the client. Now, this doesn't mean cutting them open and fitting them with a zip. It's a bit sinister, really. I'm not sure that would win you much new business. It means zipping the client in terms of the amount of contact touch points that you have within your organization and their organization. This was one of the earliest sales tips given to me. So the visual that was given to me for zipping a client was this. Now, what does that mean? Both hands represent the business, your business, the client business. Instead of having you and one person within the team of the client that you're working with, the problem that you've got there is if that client, employee, then leaves the business, great, they might go somewhere else and take you with them, but you've lost that client. So zipping the client means connecting as many personnel from your team with as many personnel from their team so that there is redundancy if people leave the organization on both sides. If you've got one person that's project managing with that client and they leave your team but they've got a really good relationship with somebody, then it's going to be hard for you to maintain that client relationship. Whereas if you have multiple people in your team that know multiple people in the client's team, then that's going to mean if for whatever reason somebody leaves your team or somebody leaves their team, you still have that relationship and you're not going to lose the client. I cannot express the importance of this tip, and a lot of the time that's going to reside in a marketing team that you're working with. Make sure that you have numerous contacts within that business and they know numerous people within your business. Okay, so step 3, you've done the first project and then you've started to expand your network within that organization. You've started zipping the client. So now we're going from how you've won that client to how you take it to becoming an absolute behemoth of a client, one that will give you that 80% of your revenue. Well, the first stream of revenue is going to come from repeat business. Now, if you've done those first 2 steps correctly, built good foundations, built good relationships, zip the client, then that future work should come to you organically. But like anything that grows, it needs to be fed. So don't neglect watering those seeds of those foundations that you've laid. Stay in regular contact, build those relationships further, invite them to industry networking events, invite them to go out for a beer if you've got a good relationship with somebody, go for a coffee, whatever it is. Make sure that you keep watering those foundations that you've laid. That way, when it does come to new regular business that they're going to go to market for that work again, the client experience has been good, you've under-promised, you've over-delivered, and you've kept those relationships sweet. Great. But in order for you to actually maximize that client and build them into a monster client, you need to be selling more to them. You need to be upselling to them. So how can you do that? Don't just wait for them to come to you. Be proactive in your approach. Spend a few hours and brainstorm out some ideas that can help them with their marketing goals, their objectives, some new and creative suggestions for them. A good client relationship means they have a rapport with you and they trust you. A marketing team is not just coming up with ideas for videos. They're also running advertising campaigns. They're also thinking about branding. They've also got networking events. They've also got etc, 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 etc. They've got loads of different responsibilities. They can't be coming up with video ideas all the time, but they know that they need video for their business. If you can become a trusted advisor, a friend, a partner to the people in the business, and then go to them, hey, so-and-so in big old organization, have you got time for a quick coffee? I've been mulling over a few ideas of content that could help with your marketing goals. That will go a long way. It's those marketing teams' job to manage everything, but also come up with ideas. But more new ideas is always going to be good for them. And if one of those is really good and it's really successful, then you're going to make that person or people in that team look really good. You're making yourself more helpful and you're making yourself more part of their team, which makes you what's known in the business world as sticky. The term sticky is often referred to when you're using business critical applications like email. You can't just get rid of an email, or it's hard for you to get rid of an email. But us creative businesses should also think about how we can be more sticky when we're working with a client. How can we make ourselves less replaceable? And the way you do that is great ideas, regular communications, becoming a trusted advisor and part of the team that you're working in. But beyond that upsell, what else can you do to keep maximizing that client? Well, think about how you can further build those stronger foundations. A couple of favors here and there is going to go a long way. If you're recording a project and they have an expectation that they're going to get one video and you go, oh, don't worry, on the house, we're going to give you 3 extra social clips for it, and you can get more out of the content. That will go a massive, massive way to helping build those foundations and strengthen those foundations. So a few little favors do help. You have to keep your eye on the ball with the consistency of the work that you're delivering. Don't just get complacent that we've got this client, they're coming to us regularly, and do poor work. If you do poor work, the murmurs will go around internally and they'll get rid of you. And then to continue expanding into that client, think about how you can zip them further. What other people are there in the business or departments in the organization that you can connect with? Instead of just knowing the marketing director, the marketing manager, and the marketing executive, think about how you can know some of the people in the finance team. Try and get connected with people at the C-suite level, the CEOs, the founders, the chief revenue officers, whatever it may be. Get connected with those people that are higher in the organization, because they're going to be influential in the decision making of these projects. And then ask, is this a business with one marketing department, or is it a business with numerous different divisions? For us, one of our biggest clients is a university. So we do work with their marketing team, but then all of the different schools within the university, be it engineering or optometry, etc., are all almost little businesses in themselves. So we work with the university on their marketing content. Then we also get referred into all the different divisions within the university. It's a Goliath client, which essentially is like 10 clients in one. But now, over a period of years building that client, we now have contacts in every department pretty much. And that client is a beast for us. They can deliver us the equivalent of $50,000 a month in revenue. But it's taken us as a business about 5 years to really nail that client. So remember those tips and these steps when you're considering trying to win yourself an absolute beast of a client. All right, that's it for this one. Go out, smash your goals, get those clients in, build them into big behemoths. I hope this video has been valuable and useful for you. If it has, consider subscribing, drop a like on there, leave a comment. These things make a big difference to the YouTube algorithm, so I'll be very grateful for that. If you want more business, filmmaking, entrepreneurship videos, check out this one.